woke up this morning to a video of the Sons of the Forest. If you guys don't know, the Sons of the Forest is a sequel to a game called The Forest, and if you haven't seen The Forest, it's a good game. I'm a sucker for story, and I will admit I didn't play this game for the story. I just played it because it was a cool open world adventure game. There's a new exclusive hands-on preview of the Sons of the Forest, which is a sequel to The Forest, and I kind of want to watch it. I'm really excited. Hi Ash. I'm excited to see what this exclusive hands-on preview is like, because this game I'm hyped for. It looks already delicious.
The Forest, the survival horror game from Canadian-based studio Midnight Games, delivered
Canadian.
on not just the popular gather and craft survival game format.
It's such a fun game. Oh, I hope so too. I'm waiting for like some games, and I'm like, this I was hyped for last year.
Long-awaited sequel, Sons of the Forest, comes not only the pressure to top the beloved experience of the original, but also to add some new and increasingly wild surprises. And based on
Did you see that, dude? Can you see that weird thing in the middle? See this thing?
Increasingly wild surprises.
Yeah, that's definitely more than a surprise. I don't even know what that is. Because like I said, there are weird creatures you'll start to encounter, but this...
Increasingly wild surprises.
Whatever that is, that's creepy as hell, isn't it? The New Mutants look awesome. I'm so hyped. Thank you, by the way, Raina.
Revolutionize the survival genre.
I can't wait to see this. Also, Eastwood, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Welcome in. I'm excited to see what they're going to show, if it's anything different as well.
The Forest begins with a simple
Okay, they're going to
premise.
tell the story.
You've crash landed on a mysterious
This is the story if you want to know.
Quest to survive at all costs. There was also the optional objective of finding your kidnapped son, a task that would take you down a wild and disturbing narrative rabbit hole populated by flesh-hungry mutants.
Yes.
Sons of the Forest largely shares the same setup, substituting your son for a missing billionaire. It's a basic idea.
A missing billionaire. Wait a second, we get to play as Timmy when finding a missing billionaire? No wonder I'm excited for this game. I was looking for something to give me a small loan of $1 million. It's great. Forgive me, I'm going to put subtitles on because it's hard to like...
It's a basic idea, but one that allows you to jump straight into the action.
Oh, it's going to be co-op and stuff. That'll be fun.
Of progressing the rescue mission to solely focus on building their very own lakeside resort with some...
Dude, it looks so good. It like breaks the tree. It's so cool. I don't know. I'm so hyped for this.
7 of your friends in co-op.
I don't have 7 friends.
Everything Sons of the Forest has to offer in single player. The big difference this time though is that even when you play solo, you're not alone. Enter Kelvin.
Who the hell is this?
Hi, Kelvin. At the very start of Sons of the Forest, you're introduced to Kelvin, an elite soldier who not only survived the helicopter crash that stranded you on the island, but is also very much along for the survival ride as an AI companion. While Kelvin has suffered some major
We're gonna have an AI companion to help me out? So if I don't have 7 friends, I can have Kelvin instead?
Very much along for the survival ride as an AI companion. While Kelvin has suffered some major head trauma that's left him unable to speak, his injuries have not, perhaps surprisingly, prevented him from being extremely helpful.
You can have someone help you out.
The multiplayer experience for solo players, Kelvin will follow you around and respond to commands issued via a bunch of handy quick...
Whoa. Go back. We can tell him to do things. Look, take item, follow. That's so cool. If you don't have friends to play with, which I don't have 7 other friends to play with, although I would like to play this game with like Cardinal if I could choose to play with someone, I think this will be interesting, especially since the intro showed me Kelvin and his ears. Cardinal, I'm seeing ears.
Not perhaps surprisingly.
That is so cool. In the first one, you don't get any help.
To replicate the multiplayer experience for solo players, Kelvin will follow you around and respond to...
Yeah, so you can tell him to get things, you can tell him to like go, you know, follow you and whatnot. Look, there's fish, sticks, rocks, and then what else?
The commands issued via
logs,
a bunch of handy quick select options.
Give to me, follow me. You can tell him to do things.
Less than desirable
right, Disa?
Such as chopping down trees and gathering logs.
Oh my god, my head is so blown.
I'd regularly turn around to find a fresh pile of logs for our disposal.
Oh my god.
Kelvin already on his merry way to collect more.
Kelvin, I love you already.
Not only will Kelvin somewhat provide company for solo players, but he offers helpful, time-saving resources even when in a group, putting a significant dent in the busy work.
He would help you fight.
This affords more time to either sculpt a masterpiece or plow forward on the cannibal killing quest.
He helps you fight
things. Mind of his own though. Well, at least to some degree. He sits down to rest when he gets tired and seeks water when he's thirsty. He'll also become upset if you treat him poorly, which makes him less productive and thus decreases the value as a companion. And
so you have to take care of him. If you overwork him, he'll get upset. If he gets tired, he'll have to have a seat and drink water. So like at least they've like tried to figure that out, right? That is cool. That's a good way of being like, look, obviously as a companion, he'll do everything with you and do whatever you want, but you have to treat him like a human. I love that. I love that they've included that, because now I can't just be like, go get me logs while I go on an adventure. option. No, he'll have breaks and stuff. That's so cool, just saying. Is the AI optional? I don't like to take care of NPCs. I don't know if you get the choice and like remove him or not, but it looks like it's going to be like implemented no matter what. Unless you play with like friends and whatnot, then I guess some, but I don't know if you get the choice to say no or yes to him. I want to say yes to him. I want to get to know Kelvin, right? That is a good touch, right?
If you decide you're not interested in having a worker bee along for the ride, you have the option to disable Kelvin in the most realistic way possible. Shoot him in the head and you'll remove him from your session.
There you go, fine. There you go. Your answer your answer is right there. If you're not interested in him, kill him. You can't just go into the settings and be like, disable Kelvin. He just goes on his own adventure. You're like, you know what? No. Boom.
You're limited to one Kelvin per multiplayer session.
That's
so
fair.
The dream of a legion of Kelvins can't be fulfilled.
I don't expect that.
The developers assured me that there are other companions you can find as you progress, each with their own unique AI.
Now, yes, I know that's a possibility because if I show you guys the trailer, there is this one person in the trailer that everyone has mentioned that seems to be a human that you get to interact with. Now, I'm curious, I hope it's not too spoilery, but if it is that character, he did say multiple, right? There are multiple characters that you can choose to replace Kelvin with, right?
You can find as you progress.
Other companions, which means if you don't like Kelvin and you find someone else, you can be like, get out of here, Kelvin, I'm gonna choose this person instead.
During my playtime, I caught a glimpse of Virginia, a mutant with 3 arms and 3 legs.
She
quickly scalpered once I approached her and definitely had more of a skittish sensibility than Kelvin. But the developers told me that she can eventually be recruited and will become attached to you over time should you be kind to her.
Looks like she's going to help us out, which is cool.
But the developers...
There she is on the water, by the way, so beautiful looking. Look at her in her little bathing suit and whatnot. I just wanted to show you the fighting.
Eventually be recruited and will become attached.
Can you see that? Look at her with 3 arms. She's got 1 pistol in one hand and a shotgun in the other 2. And she's got 3 legs, mind you, but she's only got pants that fit the 2 legs. I love what they've done.
To you over time, should you be kind to her.
Cool.
They compared her instincts to that of an elusive and independent cat, which
I love
stands in
that.
opposition to Kelvin's lovable and obedient dog. The AI improvements aren't limited to just companions though. On our expedition we came across several groups of enemies, ranging from a cluster of cannibals to a mob of monstrosities,
which I should also mention as well. So if you ever piss off any of the, the villagers, the evil guys that don't like you, they'll start to destroy your base. So if you're not like protecting yourself with your base, they'll just walk in and destroy your base because you're on their land at the end of the day. So you can see this guy here right in the middle of the screen, he's hitting the walls. He's actually trying to destroy the base.
Ranging from a cluster of cannibals to a mob of monstrosities.
Do you see that? That's so cool.
It felt like my enemies were thinking and making active decisions based on not only my actions, but also their situations and environment. Particularly in first-person horror games, enemies generally have 2 modes of behavior: patrol and attack.
Yeah.
In Sons of the Forest, some foes would just be extremely wary and just interested in watching what I do, while others would charge in aggressively, only to back down when things didn't go their way. I saw enemies consoling their fallen friends, changing their clothes depending on the weather conditions, and even trying to destroy my newly erected home when my back was turned. It was clear
That's what they did in the forest.
Enemies' brains were not only following coded rules, but also adapting their thoughts based on the external influences.
One sec, that thing is so creepy, whatever it is. It's like multiple fingers and stuff, whatever this is. I don't know what that is.
The developers explained to me that certain enemies with leadership qualities can influence the decisions of others, and even promote ideas in their ranks, such as religion, and that each individual has their own tastes, desires, and proclivities.
Did he say that person who's in the highest rank could change people's decisions in his team, including religion?
Can influence the decisions of others and even promote ideas in their ranks such as religion, and that each individual has their own tastes, desires, and proclivities.
Do you know how insane that is? Well, that's really cool. Look at that. I have no idea what that is. Whatever monster that is, obviously it's a different one. That is insane. So like, I think they've made this world, even though the first forest was like this, it looks like they're like, look, there's going to be enemies, but they can also think for themselves, which is interesting. And then you've got like companions you can choose to like, bring in as long as you keep them happy. But if you don't want them, you don't have to have that. Like there's more. I'm trying to think of a different word than integration. There's more to this. You know what I mean? It's not just enemies and it's you. It's like these enemies, they can choose to either be, some crazy religion and they'll start like building themselves a church, or they can be like, people who are just chilling around a campfire and that's it. That is insane. I know, I think that's like, that's so crazy to me. God, it's so dark in there, even with the torch.
From my small taste of Sons of the Forest, I didn't really get a sense of how deep this system is and how much it'll affect your experience.
There's a butterfly on the axe.
The teasers I saw filled my mind with dozens of possibilities. I saw enemies adapting to changing their ecosystem and weather conditions, which now cycle through seasons that change as you progress. I even accidentally triggered a war after I stupidly opened the entrance to the game's complex underground cave network and released a faction of mutants into the domain of another tribe.
That
My
happens.
simple decision caused their living space to change and encouraging them to adjust their focus. Titular Forest makes a return, and it looks better than ever.
It
From
does.
the complex density of foliage to the gorgeous rainfall and beautifully lit
Look
cave
at the rain and
stalactites amongst the hanging
everything.
corpses and mutant fetuses, the graphical power on show here rivals the majority of AAA releases. It was a joy to explore without even the slightest hint of repetition in its design.
That's
With a
so
tease
cool.
of bunkers, villages, and God knows what else in a world that's promised to be 4 times larger than the original, I can easily see myself getting lost and then sidetracked in the wilderness for hours.
Oh, I'm
ahead.
easy to
But at
navigate
its
myself
core,
back, but
Sons of the
still.
Forest is a survival game, and so when you're not exploring, there's a good chance you're building. The construction tools have been significantly overhauled for the sequel.
It looks like they
Run on
have.
a floating blue ghost
So
building
this
block.
is how you usually build back in the forest. So there was a book that you can interact with and it will give you recipes and whatnot. So this is how you would place, like if you wanted like a normal campsite or like a tent, I should say, and you didn't have any logs, you could do this with leaves and stick. And this is how you sticks, I mean. And this is how you would place it. You'd place down like a blueprint so you knew where it was. You could rotate it and stuff. But apparently that's not a thing anymore. It's different now.
Blue ghost building blocks replaced by user-friendly, realistic presentation of wilderness carpentry.
That actually looks really
Instructions
cool.
are more literal and actions are contextual. Instead of just loading resources into a ghost version of the final product, you're now free to, with magnetic and snapping assistance, manually
make
place
it however you
and
want
sticks in the direction that you'd like, allowing for a complete customization of your structure instead of following a predetermined design. My partner.
Okay, so what, have they completely taken off the blueprint then? What he's saying is you can cut the logs however you want. If you want to cut them down the middle or in pieces, you can do that. And you can make a building however you want. Somehow they like snip together, like they figured out how to like make everything like stick together, that's crazy.
Kelvin and I immediately set to work on building a lakeside domicile of our
Calvin's
own.
even
And what
pointing
began
out.
as a traditional design immediately blossomed when we realized the only limitation was our imagination. You're working on every placement by hand, and thus the structural points present not only a decision, but an opportunity for expression. I was informed that the option of the more traditional blueprint builds is still there for the purists, but I found the DIY construction far more appealing than the IKEA approach.
I don't mind the DIY, but I know me, because I'll try and make something really crazy that doesn't make any sense. He's trying to make a window, mind you, by just cutting it out of the wood that's already been placed there, which is all cool and everything, but I think, you know, if I was going to start out, I'll go with a blueprint just so I have some sort of base to come back to, and then maybe we'll do some crazy thing, but I know my brain would think of like the most craziest like base, you know what I mean?
Then, of course, there's the optional story to follow. From the teasers in the trailers, this is implied to be bigger and perhaps even crazier than the original.
I can't wait.
And hopefully continues directly on from the forest's cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But amongst the time spent constructing and fighting off hordes of cannibals, I didn't really get a sense of how the story was going to go beyond the initial premise.
Oh.
It did feel very familiar to the story of the forest though, which I guess makes sense in the term of dropping players right into the action. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have concerns that it could potentially retread old ground. My hope is this simply serves as a jumping off point to go in some truly crazy directions.
I hope so too.
It develops a narrative through line from the first game that still feels cohesive. But time will tell once I get my hands on the full game and manage to pull myself away from building a replica of the Ewok village and destroying the lives of the unsuspecting locals. Sons of the Forest appears to evolve and build on every aspect of its predecessor, with a focused goal of realism and developing a flexible ecosystem. And it feels like the building blocks are there.
Wait, that's not realism. Who just chews into a fish like that? What the hell? That's not realism. That's called craziness. It's almost hungry. It's a bit more than hungry, right? Look at this.
Realism and developing a flexible ecosystem. And
that's not a flexible ecosystem. No one just chews into a fish like that.
And it feels like the building blocks are there to create something truly special.
No, it's not realism, bro.
Is the addition of impressively sophisticated and smarter AI enemies and companions that could not only provide a huge leap forward for the series, but the survival game genre as a whole.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I've been smiling the whole time. I can't wait. I've never been so hyped for a game in so long. It's so cool.